Something is happening that almost nobody is covering properly. Iran's new supreme leader took power during the most intense period his country has faced in decades. He made one public statement, and then he completely vanished. No appearances, no video, no voice recordings, not a single confirmed sighting. And today, the President of the United States said publicly, on the record, that he is hearing the new supreme leader of Iran may not be present anymore. Think about that for a second. The most powerful leader on earth is publicly questioning whether the man now running Iran is even still there. And Iran's response was not a denial. It was not a press conference. It was not a video proving he exists. Iran's response was complete silence. Well, let me explain. Disclaimer. Senator John Fetterman appeared on camera today and made a statement worth paying attention to. He said the media have not seen the new leader of Iran, not even one single time. Not his face, not his voice, and he called on the press to demand what he called proof of life. Think about what it means when a sitting U.S. senator uses the phrase proof of life in reference to the leader of a country the United States is currently in a situation with. That is not normal diplomatic language. That is the language you use when there is genuine uncertainty about whether someone is still present. And the senator was not speaking in vague terms. He was specific. Not one appearance, not one audio recording, not one video message. For a leader who took power during one of the most consequential moments in his country, his recent history, that absence is extraordinary. When leaders of countries under pressure disappear from public view, there are usually very specific reasons for it, and none of those reasons are reassuring. Mojtaba Khamenei is the son of the previous supreme leader, who was removed from the picture during operations in the early days of this conflict. When his father was gone, Mojtaba was elevated to the position of supreme leader, the most powerful role in Iran's entire structure. The people who know Iran's political landscape closely describe the transition in terms that raised immediate concern. Multiple officials and analysts said, almost identically, that the world was going to miss the era of his father, which is a remarkable thing to say about someone considered one of the most difficult figures in modern geopolitics. What they were signaling was this: however difficult it was to deal with the previous leader, the person who replaced him was considered more hardline, less willing to engage, and less predictable. And Mojtaba Khamenei appeared to confirm that almost immediately after taking power. He issued a single public statement saying that diplomacy was finished. No more negotiations, no more frameworks. That was the last time anyone publicly confirmed seeing or hearing from him. Now here's the moment that made today different from every previous day of this conflict. President Trump was asked about the situation and gave an answer that very few people in his position would give publicly. He said, directly on the record to the press, that he was hearing Iran's supreme leader Mojtaba Khamenei is not alive. He did not say it as a certainty. He used the phrase he was hearing it. But that framing actually matters more than a definitive statement would. Because when a sitting U.S. president says he is hearing something, that language is usually deliberate. It is a way of putting information into public circulation without making an official claim that would require official evidence. And he followed it immediately with something equally significant. He said that if the new leader is still alive, he should do the smart thing for his country and agree to a ceasefire. Read that combination carefully. In one statement, Trump did two things simultaneously. He raised public uncertainty about whether the leader is alive. And he addressed the leader directly as if he might still be listening. Those two things existing in the same sentence tell you that even the people with the most intelligence resources on Earth are not completely certain of the answer. And then the most telling detail of all, Iran did not respond. There was no press conference, no video released, no audio statement, no official denial from Iranian state media saying the supreme leader is alive and well and directing operations. When governments want to prove a leader is alive, proving it is extraordinarily simple. You film them reading today's newspaper headline, you have them make a brief recorded statement. You do what North Korea has done in similar situations, what Venezuela has done, what dozens of governments have done when questions arose about their leadership. You provide evidence. Iran has not done that. And the longer that silence continues, the harder it becomes to explain as anything other than either deliberate strategic concealment or something more significant. Pause for a second. The President of the United States publicly saying he is hearing the leader of Iran may not be alive, and Iran not responding with a single piece of evidence either way. Did that land for you the way it landed for me? Tell me what you think is actually going on in the comments below. But here is where the picture gets more complicated. Because while the supreme leader has been invisible, Iran as a country and as a military force has absolutely not been invisible. Operations have continued. Statements have been issued by military commanders and government officials. The institution is clearly functioning. Decisions are clearly being made. And there is something else happening inside Iran right now that directly contradicts the narrative of a country in collapse. Reports emerged today of long queues forming in Iranian cities. Not queues of people trying to leave the country, Not queues for food or emergency supplies, but queues of ordinary Iranian citizens voluntarily showing up to help staff checkpoints after a shortage of security personnel was announced. According to the reports, within 2 hours of the announcement, entire lines of people had formed and were waiting to help. That is not the behavior of a population that is turned against its government or that sees its situation as hopeless. That is a population that, whatever its relationship with its leadership, is choosing to show up. So we have a country that is operationally intact, a population that appears to be rallying a military that is continuing to operate, and a supreme leader that nobody has seen or heard from since his very first statement after taking power. Which raises the question that this video has been building toward from the beginning. Why is he invisible? There are really only two serious explanations for the complete absence of any confirmed sighting or communication from Iran's supreme leader. And it is worth laying them both out clearly because they point in very different directions. The first explanation is that the silence is deliberate and strategic, that Mojtaba Khamenei is alive, is directing operations, and has made a calculated decision to remain invisible precisely because visibility is dangerous. His father was located and removed from the picture during this conflict. The lesson from that could not be clearer. If you are the supreme leader of Iran right now, the safest thing you can do for yourself and arguably for your country is to make yourself impossible to find. No location to target, no pattern of movement to track, no public appearances that create a window of vulnerability. Under this explanation, the silence is a feature, not a problem. Iran is operating effectively precisely because its leadership has learned from what happened to the previous leader and adapted accordingly. The second explanation is the one that Trump's public statement pointed toward, that something happened, that the silence is not strategic concealment, but the result of an event that Iran is not yet ready, or not yet able, to confirm publicly. Under this explanation, Iran as institutions are continuing to function not under the direction of the new supreme leader, but under some form of collective or emergency leadership that has not been publicly announced. The reason this second explanation is not easily dismissed is the timeline. His father's disappearance from public view was also preceded by silence, by official denials, and by continued statements from other officials, right up until the point where the situation could no longer be managed quietly. History does not always repeat, but it does often rhyme. So here is where things stand tonight. Iran's new supreme leader took power during one of the most consequential moments in his country's modern history. He made a single public statement declaring that diplomacy was finished and that Iran would deal with its adversaries in the only language they understand. And then he went completely silent. A sitting U.S. senator went on live television today and demanded proof of life. The President of the United States said publicly that he is hearing the new leader may not be alive, and Iran has not responded with a single piece of evidence in either direction. Meanwhile, Iran, as an institution, continues to operate. Its military continues to function. Its population is showing up voluntarily to support the national effort. The country has not collapsed. The leadership structure has not visibly broken down, but at the very top of that structure, where the supreme leader is supposed to be, there is only silence. The man who declared that diplomacy was over and that the only language his adversaries would receive was the language of combat, that man has not been seen or heard from since the moment he said it. Whatever the truth turns out to be, the whole world right now is waiting for exactly the same thing that Senator Fetterman demanded on live television today. Proof of life. But what is your opinion on this? Comment down below. If you are curious to find more, then make sure to click on one of the videos you see on the screen. And with that, we come to the end of this video. If you enjoyed the video, then turn on the notifications bell on this channel. Also, please share this video with as many people as possible. Let's get this news out there.